Cartoons, whether they're consumed by children, adults, or 24-year-olds with no actual personality, have always held a sense of adolescence and spontaneity. They're one of the few realms of media that are primarily built for kids. Naturally, we have the Adult Swim variety, but for the moment, pretend Pickle Rick doesn't exist and instead focus on animated series about being young and having fun.
Primarily children watch cartoons, but adults watch cartoons too. In fact, in the evening, on the average evening, more adults are tuned to the Cartoon Network than they're tuned to CNN. It's sad.
I was searching for inspirational quotes about how everyone can enjoy cartoons, but honestly, seeing the light leave his eyes was kind of hilarious. I think most fans of animation consider Hanna-Barbera to be the start of how we view the modern Saturday morning cartoon, which honestly only remains in spirit as streaming services replace cable while also just making us watch commercials and overpay. So cable. And while cartoons have inevitably changed since the first half of the 20th century, you still see the same formulas, if not the same stories, to this day. Obviously, there were things to fix in older cartoons, be it offensive content in the stories or the actual production of the animation as technology advanced. But when it came to the base setups, the industry struck gold early on with its patented character dynamics and episode arrangements. Tom and Jerry were the birth of slapstick cat and mouse dynamics in Saturday morning cartoons, and that lasted through my childhood with shows like Dexter's Lab, and even in modern cartoons like The Amazing World of Gumball. Then there are hashtag squad goals cartoons like Scooby-Doo, which was so iconic that we're still producing media about these exact same characters. Ensemble shows are more fluid when it comes to sticking to a script, but I always reference Teen Titans, or more recently shows like My Little Pony, that stick to having hyperbolized characters who often butt heads. Mains? Hooves? Lastly, there were lesson of the day cartoons that taught the audience things like don't talk to strangers or don't bully people.
But it didn't work! Lies seldom do! Somehow the truth always comes out, and then it's big trouble. So save yourself that trouble, and always tell the truth.
Society is starting to pull away from this genre once a kid is past Cocomelon age though, so say goodbye to morals, bitches.
No rules, baby! Start that riot!
Obviously, there were more than these three genres, but most shows fit into slapstick, squad, or significance. All S's for alliteration, heh. In the 21st century, we're slowly shifting from episodic to overarching plots, meaning the interpretation of slapstick, squad, and significance is becoming vague. Kids no longer turn on the TV and sit through whatever is on at the time.
In the future, there will be 500 TV channels. Far out! But nothing to watch.
Instead, entire shows are at their fingertips, meaning they can watch series in chronological order, hence more shows shifting from episodic to overarching, or even tossing in big plot points during their episodic stories. So if most cartoons are getting deeper and darker with massive plots, why am I making a whole video about how this old school randomness is still alive and well? 2 words. That's right, I'm making the big boy claim that the reason we still have this spontaneity in modern cartoons is because of Cartoon Network, or at least the creators and crew who work there. And trust me, I know Nickelodeon and Disney Channel creators produce shows that kept this childlike wonder alive, but Cartoon Network did so overwhelmingly. It's the only network producing solely animation like this. I'm not saying the live-action shows of Nickelodeon and Disney weren't iconic, but Cartoon Network had time to focus on animation, and that was definitely an advantage. Like most networks, creators at Cartoon Network worked on multiple shows.
Steven Universe got picked up, and I worked on that, but while that got picked up, they were like, hey, we want to still develop Lakewood Plaza Turbo into something else.
This meant that once we got to the 2010s, and this is the era I'll be focusing on, Cartoon Network crew members had worked off of each other's ideas, built a cohesive team, and developed their patented sense of humor that builds on Hanna-Barbera era cartoons, turn-of-the-century cartoons, and a little bit of something new. And terrifying. Any cartoon lover worth their salt knows about the immense impact the marvelous misadventures of Flapjack had on the modern cartoon era. I've only seen a few episodes, but even I can tell how the series' humor and setup can be felt in shows being pitched today. Philip Van Orman pitched this idea in the early 2000s, but when the show aired in 2008, it was something we hadn't seen before. The jokes pushed envelopes, the humor was surrealist, and the art style was something fun and new. Directly, people who worked on Flapjack included Alex Hirsch, Pendleton Ward, J.G. Quintel, and Patrick McHale. You know, no biggie. And this created a web where crew members who worked on these shows went on to create their own series, like Rebecca Sugar and Ian Jones-Cordy. And I love that you can see how these artists built a collective humor that resonates throughout Cartoon Network today. While many shows started being aimed towards both kids and parents, Cartoon Network still viewed the world through a child's eyes. It's not uncommon to look up a creator's inspiration for their series and see that a showrunner based a lot of it on their own childhood.
Basically a composite of all of the things I ever hoped would happen during summer.
When I was 13, I was going to run away from home and live off the land on this island.
It's kind of based off of my memories of being a kid and tagging along with my mom to her job.
In my opinion, this always translates well into the story. Whatever Flapjack started, Adventure Time popularized. Even before I'd seen this series, I could have told you a good chunk of the characters and plot simply because of how relevant it was. The use of universe-specific lingo, random events that seem to have no relevance to the plot, and, most importantly, weirdly deep lessons and ponderings amidst seemingly goofy antics solidified the modern cartoon. I'm not saying previous shows never tried balancing these ideas, but they often focused heavily on one side, while occasionally incorporating the other. Adventure Time went really hard on making their episodes random and weird, all while dumping the most existential and philosophical shit onto the 10-year-olds watching at home. There's an episode where Shelby's butt becomes his brother, which is so memey, but the episode ends on this.
Free from the Rat King's cursed teeth, that spring, for the first time in many years, the willow tree was in bloom.
With this show, though, these lessons or metaphors or allegories, whatever you call them, they never feel forced or pretentious. That's because in these same episodes they include fart jokes and dumb puns that assure its cartoonish origins remain. Even compared to some of my newer obsessions like Dead End Paranormal Park and The Owl House, Adventure Time's setup, humor, and lack of direct pop culture references prove that it will remain one of the most timeless series. Not saying that dating a series via its humor is a bad thing, that can often be fun, but Adventure Time will always have its audience, new and old, dying of laughter. As someone who grew up on the 2003 Teen Titans and currently still considers it one of my favorite cartoons, I still love Teen Titans Go and think most, though not all, of its backlash is unwarranted. I think this is a great example of how similar setups and dynamics can be approached differently. Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go are unique examples, since the 2003 version mirrors more modern cartoon setups and the 2013 version mirrors older slapstick cartoon setups. However, Go has a more modern approach to its humor. When you compare the success of the 2003 and 2013 Teen Titans series, you can see how modern cartoons are savoring a certain flavor of obnoxiousness. And no, that's not an insult. You can 100% dislike Teen Titans Go for replacing what would have been a long-awaited 6th season, but it's not fair to criticize it for things like unlikable characters, raunchy jokes, and overall tomfoolery when many cartoons from the last 20 years do the same thing. Do I think it's fair that it's slotted for half the airtime in Cartoon Network? No. Do I think it's a great standalone series? Yep. Cartoons are starting to lean towards in-depth characters who learn and grow. Once again, this is much easier with streaming platforms compared to watching 10-minute episodes out of order. I really wonder if Teen Titans Go would have performed well in the early 2000s, and the original would have been doing just as well had it been released today. I think had shows like Flapjack, Chowder, and Adventure Time not been so successful, Teen Titans wouldn't have been rebooted the way it was. I think it's fair to be disappointed, but trends are trends, and networks, at the end of the day, deliver to the new generation of kids, not our own nostalgia.
I can fix that.
Believe it or not, we recently hit Cartoon Network's 20th anniversary, but we still see the classic Cartoon Network energy in shows that have aired or continued since we hit 2020. This includes cartoons outside of Cartoon Network like straight to HBO or Netflix cartoons, or Nickelodeon and Disney Channel cartoons that are essentially distant cousins to the Flapjack era. When you think of recent cartoon hits, you think The Owl House, She-Ra and the Princesses of Power, Creek of the Creek, Kipo and the Age of the Wonder Beast, Amphibia, Dead End, and if you ask me, every single goddamn second of Infinity Train. There's been no shortage of cartoons that are not only critical successes, but are paving the way for the new norm. Plot-driven, overarching stories that still maintain a sense of episodic shenanigans. I'm not saying live-action episodic sitcoms are dead, but we're definitely seeing media as a whole shift towards longer stories. However, it's nice to have something to throw on and laugh at, and despite shows like Amphibia having an overarching plot that thickens as the show nears its conclusion, you can still get the general idea of the story no matter where you pick up. That's always been the beauty of cartoons. Simplicity. And of course, we're drifting away from the older definition of this. We've passed the era of animation cells and one voice actor portraying 60% of the characters. It's natural to adapt, but the heart of cartoons has stayed the same, no matter how much we revise the details. I can't say that series coming out in the past 2 or 3 years have completely kept the old-fashioned cartoon style, or even Flapjack era randomness, but the influences are evident, if not direct in cases like the Cuphead show. There's a chaotic juvenile heart to current animation that pays homage to its predecessors, and I think we'll be seeing that in cartoons for years to come, no matter how serious, plot-driven, and broadly consumed by adults these stories grow to be.
But does growing up just change your body? Or also your soul?